Well, it's decision week in Nigeria, exactly 4 days to the Presidential National Assembly elections, and we are counting down as Nigerians prepare to vote. Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Join the conversation live on Twitter, tag at Nifemi Oguntoye using the hashtag TVC Countdown 2023. Nigerians are still battling with the issue of naira scarcity, from long queues at ATM points to those scrambling to gain entrance into the banking hall in search for naira. Just yesterday, governors of the All Progressives Congress had an emergency meeting seeking the way forward on naira scarcity. They had the following resolutions. First, they're asking the Attorney General of the Federation, as well as the CBN governor, to respect the Supreme Court order of interim injunction, which they say is still subsisting. They're also urging Mr. President to intervene in resolving issues that are causing these great difficulties to the economy. Also, a coalition of civil society organizations expressed concern over this policy. Earlier today, they held a briefing where they stated their demands.
The recent unfortunate chaos caused by the Central Bank of Nigeria's drive in the name of currency redesign to railroad Nigeria into a cashless economy has further unleashed unimaginable hardship on the majority of citizens. It needs to be emphasized that the Naira redesign exercise has exposed the poor thinking in implementation, resulting in avoidable scarcity of the redesigned denominations of the currency.
The federal government has said that a few governors and other politicians are keeping billions of old Naira notes in well-known places. Instead of imposing collective punishment on hapless Nigerians, the federal government should direct security and anti-graft agencies to remove the sums of money allegedly kept in the homes and offices of the few politicians.
Well, let's get more perspectives on the position of the CSOs. 4 days to election. I'm joined by President of Transition Monitoring Group, Awa Rasfojani, on the countdown. Thank you for joining us on the program. Tell us precisely what this press briefing was about.
Thank you very much. This press briefing is as a result of the ongoing difficulties and challenges that Nigerian people are facing as a result of the policy that is tantamount to anti-people. And that's why civil society came together to speak the minds of suffering Nigerians who are been languishing. And some, Nigerians have even been dying as a result of the inability to have access to money to pay for medical bill. And we believe that whatever policy that government is going to use, as long as those policies are anti-people, are not, going to be useful to the people. And therefore, we believe that governments, they have already claimed that they know where some powerful people have kept money. Where can they go after those, powerful individuals to get the money, rather than separating the millions of Nigerians, leaving them in queue for days?
I get to Mr. Rasfojani. Talk to us about the exact intervention that the CSOs are foreseeing, particularly as regards to naira scarcity.
So the intervention that civil society is actually making is first, of course, calling on the Central Bank of Nigeria, the president, to ensure that they ease this difficulty, this troubling that Nigerians are going through as a result of this policy. Whatever the good intention about this policy, as long as it has negative consequences on the ordinary people, of Nigeria, it has to be, relooked into. Secondly, this policy, unfortunately, is not targeting at the right people, because the people that the government claim to be targeting these policies for, some of them, they are share holders in the bank. Some of them, they own the banks. So they are not found in any queue. They are not part of these Nigerians that are suffering, looking for money to feed themselves or to pay their medical bills. So therefore, government should think about this and be able to have a policy that can really help curb corruption. And the vote buying that government is talking about, those big, politics.
Awa Rasfojani is President Transition Monitoring Group. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on the program this hour. Well, the Commonwealth Observer Group has also arrived to Nigeria, led by its chairperson, former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki. The mandate of the group is to observe and assess Nigeria's election from activities before the election itself and on election day, as well as post-election.
All focus and attention at the moment is on Nigeria's upcoming elections, both from within and outside the country. This is particularly important because Nigeria is the biggest democracy in Africa and a model to many countries. This is one of the reasons observer groups like the Commonwealth are here in Nigeria.
And our mandate is to observe and assess the pre-election period, activities on polling day, and the post-election period. And throughout, we'll consider all factors relating to the credibility of the electoral process. We'll assess whether the elections are conducted according to the standards of democratic elections to which Nigeria has committed itself, including the constitutional framework and national legislation, as well as Commonwealth and other international commitments.
Ensuring a free, fair and credible election in Nigeria is not only the responsibility of political parties and candidates, but of all the electorates. These activities will form the reports that the International Election Observer teams will produce at the end of the mission. The group promises to observe thoroughly and make a comprehensive assessment.
The report cannot be written in order to please the country where the elections, or the government of the country where the elections have taken place. Nor would it be the objective to displease the government. It's to tell the truth.
A preliminary assessment report will be available from the group on the 27th of February, while a more comprehensive report will be released much later. The role international observer groups such as the Commonwealth plays cannot be overemphasized in strengthening democratic system, particularly in Nigeria, considering its position on the continent and across the world. Moya Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.
Moya joins me live from Abuja. She monitored that press briefing by the Commonwealth Observer Group. Moya, talk to us about the mode of operation of this group ahead of this election and the other things they talked about.
Okay, so before, part of the preparation for election is the INEC sending invitation letters to international organizations to come and observe. So many other organizations have been around before now, and we've also had press statements, updates from them too. But for the Commonwealth, they also received invitation from INEC, accepted, and that is why they are here in the country to monitor and ensure that Nigeria's election remain credible. And, you know, over the years, we know the role Nigeria plays, just like the report says. The role Nigeria plays on the continent is a very important one, and ensuring democracy is not truncated or does not have any hiccup in the country is very important to international organizations, and that's one of the reasons they are here to observe how the elections will go. And then their mandate, as the chairperson said, is not limited to only the election day. It also includes activities before the election, pre-election day. So what we do as individuals in this country is very important in the process of campaigning for a preferred candidate or demonstrating how much we want to support our candidates, because all these are the things that the observer mission, the observer groups are going to put in their report, and the way we all as electorate conduct ourselves on the day of election, all these come together to form the report that they will give at the end of the election, generally, even to vote counting, to every activity that is going to happen, which has started because we already have pre-election. They are going to be sending out their mission groups from the 23rd to all states across the country, so that they will give reports. It's going to make up part of their report at the end of the election. The observer groups will go around the country, not only for Commonwealth, even for other international organizations that have observer groups in the country. They will all be in all states, in all the over 170,000 polling units that we will have in the country.
All eyes on Nigeria, Moyo. We're told that this is Africa's biggest election and that the number of registered voters in Nigeria is higher than all of the registered voters in West Africa put together. We're back with you when you have more updates for us. Moyo Thomas live in Abuja. In less than 5 days, Nigerians will decide who President Buhari's successor is. And the main opposition party, PDP, is making every effort to return to Aso Rock after it lost the seat 8 years ago. Joining me on the countdown today is the PDP Presidential Campaign Council spokesman, Daniel Bola. Mr. Bola, thank you for joining us on the countdown. Let's start with the challenge of Naira scarcity. Where does your principal, Atiku Abubakar, stand on the matter as we speak? Mr. Bola, I'll need you to unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
I say thank you for having me. Like I said earlier today, that APC and their campaign came up with a strategy. Haven't noticed that in the past 8 years, they have not delivered on their promise. So they decided to apply this law of power that says, create the problem, provide solution, and then be the hero. Create the problem, provide solution, be the hero. So they came up with this policy that has created problems for Nigeria, the Naira policy. And then you see people running helter-skelter. People cannot access their funds and the rest. So in other words, they make this problem going into the election tougher than the problems Nigerians have been going in the last 8 years. Then they now came up with the solution. And what are the solutions? You've been hearing them here and they're making effort to go to court, giving money in Ogun State, and then, sending palliatives here and there, and even promising the people that if they are voted into power, they are going to overrule the same promise, the same policy that they initiated, that they are going to overrule the policy, so that way, Nigerian people will see them as different from the government that, runs their party, and then see them as special people to be voted for. Unfortunately for them, it is backfiring because the Nigerian people's eyes are open and they know that when they go to the ballot on Saturday, it is just APC as a party and logo you will see. You will not see the candidate, the name of the
I hear you,
person.
Mr. Bola. So your principal initially supported this policy, but we're hearing that is also now coming up with strategies, seeing the hardship, the implication, or rather the impact of this policy on Nigerians. My question really was, what is his current position as we speak today?
His current position is that APC has failed Nigerians. APC has not been able to deliver in the last 8 years on their promises. And APC came up with a policy that is bringing hardship and turmoil to the Nigerian people. And as a result of which, he's calling upon the government to have humane feelings and make sure that their policies are such that Nigerian people will not be further plunged into disarray, because APC are coming up with this idea of creating the problem, provide the solution, and be a hero.
So did the former vice president ask that commercial banks receive the old 1,500 Naira notes?
If you have seen it, you can refer me to, but you asked me about his position. I just told you. You repeated and asked me about his position. I just replied you. I don't know the third question.
Let us talk about let us talk about your party's chances. Are you bothered that you won't be dealing with the ruling party alone on Saturday, but there are two other main contenders who were former members of the PDP?
No, we're actually, there is a poll that came out today, a poll that consists the highest sample size that cut across 3 states in each geopolitical zone and run into about 1 million or so respondents. That is the most comprehensive polling, and that poll projects us as winning with a close margin. But I make the case that we're winning with a large margin because even though you said there are 2 other contenders who are offshoot from our party, but what happens in politics is that as you lose some, you gain some. Because APC in 2019 had the 8 to 12 million votes of Buhari. He's not going to be on the ballot. And the Northwest are so angry with APC because they have not been able to go to farms. They have been dislodged by bandits, that the case in the Northwest has become so terrible that throughout this campaign period, they already began to express their displeasure when they reacted negatively to all of APC's campaign. So whatever we may have lost by the outgoing of these two contestants, we're gaining it with change in the Northwest. And we're also expanding our base with the neutrals, because Nigeria, if you look at voter registration, it has increased. It means that more neutrals, more undecided, have indicated interest to vote in this election. A majority of them who cut across private sector, public sector, and different areas have been able to adjudge our manifesto as the best given the circumstance to lead. So we are on the course to winning. We are leading in all fronts, and at the same time, the optics are in our favor.
One main issue, Mr. Boala, some analysts believe may work against your candidate is the idea of power rotation, which some say was even a matter of party constitution where the PDP is concerned. What's the feedback you're getting on the field?
Those who advocated that and went ahead for about 7 to 8 months, and I've been talking about it, have not been able to expand beyond the nucleus of their campaign. In fact, they began to lose more relevance as the days goes on, because people began to see them as individuals that are working for their ambition as against that concept of power rotation. And I'm happy to announce to you that our campaign is going with all of Nigerian people involved in the campaign council. And in all of our campaign throughout Nigeria, we didn't see this sentiment as projected by the media. We see the feedback as the expectation of the Nigerian people expecting PDP to win this election and begin the process of recovering Nigeria from the horrible and tumultuous 8 years that we have had from APC. And I want you to know that nobody in every part of Nigeria is interested in bringing back APC, because nobody wants another 4 years of the last 8 years.
So your principal's comment that he was in talk with Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso of the NNPP and the Peter Obi of Labour Party had been denied by the two hopefuls. How's your party reacting to that?
With or without any of them, we're winning the election, but we welcome anybody. We even welcome Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu if he wants to come to our party, because what we are trying to build is a government of national unity where everybody in Nigeria will be a part. We are not about fighting this party or fighting this candidate, acrimony and animosity. No, we are about the project of recovering Nigeria, because Nigeria obviously is out of the hands of the control of APC, which so far has compounded Nigerian problem rather than providing the solution.
In addition to the two other candidates who earlier left your party, there are now 5 PDP governors who make up the G5. And we heard from the Rivers State governor recently, who mentioned that the door has now been shut at any effort at reconciliation. Have we heard the last as to how the PDP is reacting to the position of these 5 governors?
Yeah, we all along, all the people that deliver votes for him, and I can mention them on and on, they are very prominent grassroots politicians like Farah Dagogo, Maxwell, Farah Dagogo, Senator Sekibo, B.A. Sekibo, of course you have George Sekibo, you have Secondus, you have Limaiba. There are quite a number, very strong stakeholders that have been delivering votes for him or working with the grassroots. They are now with our campaign. So he's isolated alone. He's not being part of us, will not affect our voting. Yesterday we had a stakeholder engagement between our candidate Atiku Abubakar with the people. And Abubakar was able to give them a well-defined and outlined project and plan he has for the people of Rivers State. And they are in the very heart of Atiku. And traditionally, from 1999 till today, Rivers is PDP. I cannot imagine for the life of me that they will go outside of that. So many of his people are departing from him, including we're even hearing about 3 or 4 commissioners are thinking about leaving him before that day.
You're talking about the history of PDP in Rivers, but this is also perhaps the first time that your party is not holding a rally in Rivers State. Don't you think this is quite different from what you're talking about?
So the energy and the energy that they are consuming, or the information they are consuming and the energy it is generating, is quite different from the realities on ground. So a lot of people are getting more annoyed with the situation and deciding to vote PDP on that day, because they felt somebody who is, going out of power to oblivion cannot determine the destiny of a good people of a state that is considered as very intelligent, enterprise, and industrious set of people. And they've had that history. No man who has ever governed the state as a governor has ever had to carry them like slaves. And they believe that nobody will even try that. So already the feedback and the energy. You need to be at the stakeholder engagement yesterday to hear from stakeholders of the party. You need to be hearing. I wish that your station can go to Rivers and begin to hear from the street what their expectations and what their plans are in the voting. Then you will know that Rivers State is PDP. PDP is Rivers State.
The election is only 4 days away, Mr. Bola, and the figures will tell which party will win in Rivers State. But I'd like you to speak to the peace accord that your party signed earlier on and why it's important for all stakeholders in this election to embrace peace and the importance of stakeholders playing by the book.
Yes, we did the first signing, although the candidate of APC was not there, but the second time he came, and there was a robust discussion in that meeting where all political parties were asked to advise their spokesperson to tone down the heat and the rhetoric so we can have a peaceful election. They all undertook to fight for the peaceful conduct of election. Now it behoves of the various candidates to speak to their followers and voters to make sure that it's all about peace and deciding the future of Nigeria, because 1 day or 2 days after the election, when the winner emerge, it will be the process of rebuilding Nigeria and healing Nigeria. We are all one people, one nation with a common goal. All these political parties are all advocating what they believe to be a path they have for the Nigerian people. We are not enemies. So PDP will win, and then after winning, we will then bring all these parties together and form a government of national unity.
Spokesperson, PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Daniel Bola, thank you for talking to us on the countdown.
Thank you for being a professional. Thank you.
Well, tomorrow we'll turn to yet another party to come on the program and talk about their expectation ahead of the poll this Saturday. Nigerians are counting down. This is perhaps the most important election in our nation's history. And we are here to give you every bit of it, in-depth analysis, and also balancing the different perspectives. Watch a repeat of this broadcast tomorrow at 6 a.m. Follow us on all of our social media handles. Remember to use the hashtag TVC Countdown 2023 so we can track your comments. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. I'll be back at 7 p.m. with all the headline stories. Stay with us.